Israeli forces are continuing to pound southern Lebanon, including Nabatea and Tabir. But the Hezbollah says it has increased its offensive attacks on the battleground. The Lebanese group claims it has launched its attack drones on Israel's elite Golani unit. Here's a report.
Hezbollah and Israeli forces are involved in violent clashes on the ground. Just days after Israeli defense minister said the IDF destroyed most of the armed group's capabilities, leaving them with only a third of their medium and short-range missiles and rockets. Hezbollah says it has intensified its operations on the ground over the past few days. Hezbollah claims it carried out over 50 operations against the Israeli military. Lebanese group launched its biggest attack on Israel last week, unleashing an attack drone squadron at the Golani Brigade base in Binyamina. Israeli media reported the strikes killed 4 of its soldiers and injured over 60 military members. 50 ambulances and helicopters were rushed to the scene. The target was the Golani unit that was recently deployed in southern Lebanon after it took part in the Israeli invasion of Gaza. Hezbollah claims it launched dozens of missiles towards Nahariya and Akre, north of Haifa, to keep Israeli defense systems occupied. Simultaneously, it deployed squadrons of various drones, some of which were used for the first time, targeting different areas in Akre and Haifa. The Lebanese group says it pursues ambush tactics against Israel. Israel says Hezbollah is in great distress, and any negotiations with the Lebanese group will only be held under fire. Hezbollah says it has the right to attack Israeli troops anywhere.
When I say return the residents safely, it means that this is being pushed out. And combining the weakening of Hezbollah with pushing it off the fence line will enable the residents to return under certain conditions. We will hold negotiations only under fire. I said this on day one. I said it in Gaza, and I'm saying it here. This is the means we have.
Since the Israeli enemy targeted all of Lebanon, we have the right from a defensive position to target any point in the Israeli enemy's entity, whether in the center, the north, or the south. We will choose the point that we see as appropriate.
Israeli operations in Lebanon have killed over 2,000 people till now. IDF claims it has destroyed almost 70% of Hezbollah's defense capabilities. The mayor of Nabatea in South Lebanon was among the 16 people killed when an Israeli airstrike destroyed its municipal headquarters.
The situation in general, I think, deserves patience in my view, and that's natural. If Netanyahu thinks that killing is terrorizing us, baiting us, and forcing us to act, then he is wrong. We are a strong people, we are steadfast people, and we are people who believe in the values of humanity and morality that relate to human life.
While a ceasefire in Lebanon doesn't seem to be on the horizon, Israel's ally, U.S., says it has made clear that it opposes the near daily strikes in the densely populated Lebanese capital of Beirut.
Bringing you some breaking news once again. You can see on the screens there that multiple rockets have been fired from Lebanon towards Israel, particularly in Haifa as well as Haifa Bay. And apparently the sirens have sounded in the city of Haifa. as well as the Bay and other areas across Israel. We also understand that one rocket was sent and it hit close to Haifa Bay in an area called Kiryat Ata. That's according to Israeli media, and a car has been set on fire as a result of that rocket attack from Lebanon. We'll bring in our correspondent, Noor Odeh, who's joining us once again from Amman. Noor, you're keeping an eye out on the situation in Israel. What more do you have for us at this hour?
Well, we can confirm that there was a direct impact in the Kiryat Ata area, which is in the Haifa Bay area. One person was lightly injured. There's also a light injury in the Shlomi town, which is in northern Israel, also from that volley of rockets. We're not sure if what hit that building in Kiryat Ata was the actual rocket or the interceptor the Israeli defense system fires to intercept those rockets. But certainly the images show a fire and the building hit. Again, we have to, let's remind our viewers, Israel has a very sophisticated, multi-layered air defense system. It launches rockets, that Iron Dome system, when it can intercept, when it can detect that there are rockets being fired in the direction of Israeli towns. It hits and intercepts a lot of those rockets, but not all the time. And sometimes those interceptor rockets hit areas that it's supposed to protect. So we're still waiting for confirmation what exactly hit that building in Kiryat Ata, but we can confirm, according to Israeli sources, that a building was hit. One person was lightly injured. This is in the Haifa Bay area, and it comes after a day of remarkable developments that we've been bringing to our viewers here on Al Jazeera.
Yeah, and Noor, there are also reports that sirens have sounded in other areas, of course, outside of Haifa, and in particularly though in sort of the north of Israel. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes, about 20 towns in total heard sirens and received notifications that rockets could fall in their vicinity. That is in the Upper Galilee, in the Central Galilee area, and in the Greater Haifa area. We're talking about an area that is home to hundreds of thousands of people. Haifa alone has about 300,000 residents, the city itself. So this is a large area, large population. And after the initial reports in the morning of that drone attack, where one of them was not intercepted, it directly hit its target, which was the home of the Israeli Prime Minister. Residents would be on edge, and as soon as they hear these sirens, they would go to the shelters nearby if they are available. There are a lot of Palestinian Israeli towns and villages in that area that do not have those shelters, so that is also something to keep in mind.
What's been the impact of that drone attack on the Prime Minister's residence? You've been reporting that there is a heavy military censorship right now on that incident by the Israelis, but what are we learning at this hour?
Well, I mean, we're learning not just of the frustration, but of the concern. This is a very significant message from Hezbollah that it can strike, it can reach its targets, and it knows what it's hitting. And this reminds, I think, Israelis and all of us who are following this story of the various videos published by the Lebanese organization of drones surveilling Israeli territory and picking significant strategic targets, military mostly, whether it's in the Haifa Bay area where the Navy is housed, whether it's military installations, bases, military industry, but now also the house, the residence, the private residence of the Israeli Prime Minister. So there will be a lot of questions. Today is a Saturday. It is holiday. It's also a religious holiday in Israel this Saturday. And so there aren't a lot of discussions and media reports. But come Sunday, no doubt, there will be a lot of questions raised about where is all of this going. And the Israeli government promised the residents and the citizens of Israel that they would return them to the towns in northern Israel. What is happening in the past few weeks is that more residents are going to the shelters. More residents are affected now than they were when the escalation with Lebanon started. So a lot of questions, a lot of strategic messages, really. And many observers are pointing to a new phase, perhaps, in this escalation with that targeting of the Israeli Prime Minister's house.
The Iron Dome is not working anymore. Israel used to be protected by a system of missiles that would take down any other incoming missiles or incoming aircraft or drones. And before, nothing used to get through. Now, pretty much everything comes through. Everything Iran or Lebanon sends over, it actually hits down. So America's sending this, THAAD. The THAAD system is now supposed to help protect Israel. And amazingly, each one of these trucks right here costs $800 million each. And Americans got to pay through it through our taxes or through inflation. But why is the Iron Dome system not working anymore? They're not telling us. They could be out of ammunition, it could be a technical error, or something we just don't know about. But they're not going to admit that it doesn't work anymore because that's just an open invitation to send more rockets and drones into Israel. But their country's definitely without protection right now, and they're asking for America to come in and save them.
BBC News now. South Korea's spy agency has presented satellite pictures which it says confirm that North Korea has sent soldiers to support Russia in its war against Ukraine. Seoul's National Intelligence Service said 1,500 Special Forces troops had already arrived in Russia's Far East for training. It said they were sent on Russian transport ships earlier this month. Ukraine's President Zelensky mentioned possible North Korean involvement when he met European leaders yesterday. Well, let's speak to our correspondent Will Vernon, who's joined me here in the studios, and this is potentially quite a surprising and significant development. I know that President Zelensky has been talking about it, but tell us more.
Well, we've had reports, Matthew, for many months now of North Korea's intensifying participation in this war. There's been reports of North Korean engineers being killed on the battlefield, Western officials saying that perhaps half of all artillery shells fired by Russia are supplied by North Korea. And now this information today from South Korean intelligence that perhaps 1,500 Special Forces troops from North Korea are being trained in Russia, and they say that 13,000 containers of arms have been shipped from Pyongyang to Russia to be used on the battlefield there since August 2023. Now that's a huge amount of arms, things like artillery shells, missiles, other munitions. And then, as you say, yesterday, President Zelensky said that Ukrainian intelligence understands that there are 10,000 North Korean troops that are being prepared to be sent to the battlefield. He said perhaps there are already some North Korean officers in the occupied areas of Ukraine. I think we can have a listen now to what President Zelensky said.
Our intelligence, we've got information that North Korea sent technical personnel and officers to Ukraine on temporarily occupied territories, and they are preparing on their land 10,000 soldiers, but they didn't move them already to Ukraine or to Russia. So when we will have this information, of course, we will raise up this question.
Now, interestingly, the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, he was asked about this yesterday. He said that NATO couldn't confirm the participation of North Korean soldiers in the war in Ukraine, but we know that Western countries are incredibly concerned about this growing role of North Korea in the conflict. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has spoken about this before, spoken about Pyongyang ramping up its military support. Of course, both Russia and North Korea deny that they are that North Korea is helping Russia?
North Korea says nearly 1.5 million young people have applied to join its army. State media published photos of what it said were young recruits enlisting. Pyongyang says the rush to join the army follows what it calls a provocative drone incursion by South Korea. North Korea has made similar claims about army recruitment in the past during previous phases of heightened tensions in the region. Well, those heightened tensions on Tuesday was after North Korea blew up some of the roads along its border with the south. Zain Basravi has more.
A day after issuing a warning, North Korea blew up roads on its side of the border with South Korea. A violent but symbolic gesture, severing a path connecting the two rivals. The South Korean military responded by firing warning shots on its own territory. The episode signals escalating tensions on the peninsula. Pyongyang accuses Seoul of routinely violating its airspace. On Sunday, the powerful sister of leader Kim Jong-un warned there would be consequences.
The scattering of leaflets over the capital city will be regarded as a grave, politically motivated provocation and an infringement upon our sovereignty. But the fact that drones carried the leaflets is at the core of the seriousness of this incident.
South Korea's military has denied sending drones north, but Pyongyang says it has clear evidence its southern neighbor was behind drones that reached Pyongyang in recent weeks. Activists and North Korean defectors also fly balloons into the north, carrying aid parcels and leaflets criticizing Kim. The north has retaliated with its own balloons, filled with trash, even human waste. On Tuesday, South Korea condemned the destruction of the roads.
What North Korea has done is a clear violation of the Inter-Korean Agreement. We see it as a very abnormal act, and the government strongly condemns it.
North Korea has spent months laying mines and building anti-tank barriers, and after pledging last week to permanently seal its southern border, blowing up some roads may be only the beginning of a diplomatic winter. Zain Basravi, Al Jazeera.
So Yahya Sinwar is dead, Israel is celebrating, but that's not all that's happening in West Asia. You also have the United States. They're stepping up their actions in the region, and they have taken aim at one of Israel's enemies, the Houthi rebel group in Yemen. The Houthis are backed by Iran. They are part of Iran's axis of resistance, or as Israel calls it, the axis of evil. The Houthis aren't really a major player in the West Asian conflict. They're more of a support faction. They mostly target international trade, the ships sailing through the Red Sea.
The Yemeni Houthi armed forces carried out two military operations. The first targeted the American oil tanker Olympic Spirit. The ship was targeted in the Red Sea with 11 ballistic missiles and 2 drones, and it was directly and severely hit by the grace of Allah.
That was a Houthi spokesperson. He announced their latest attack. It took place last week, and this is what the Houthis are most famous for, attacking ships. They've been doing it since last November, but yesterday it seemed that the US had finally had enough. They brought out the big guns, the B-2 Spirit, America's heavy strategic stealth bomber. The B-2 is almost undetectable. It has never been shot at. Enemies usually do not spot it until it's too late. The B-2 is one of the aces up America's sleeve, and they brought it out against the Houthis yesterday. The US then released a statement. They targeted 5 Houthi weapon depots. The depots weren't exactly special. They were fortified and located underground. But they did not contain any special munitions. So then why did the US bring out the B-2s? Why unleash such a powerful weapon? Well, this is a statement from the US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Look at this part. It says, this was a unique demonstration of the United States' ability to target facilities that our adversaries seek to keep out of reach, no matter how deeply buried underground, hardened, or fortified. He's saying it loud and clear. It was a demonstration of America's ability to penetrate any military installation, no matter how deep underground. Each B-2 can enter enemy territory undetected and drop dozens of bombs all over the place, including this monster, the Massive Ordnance Air Blast, or MOAB, colloquially known as the mother of all bombs, MOAB. The MOAB has the destructive force of 18,000 pounds of TNT. It's the US military's most powerful non-nuclear bomb, and it's usually delivered by B-2 stealth bombers. That is the message that America is sending. This demonstration was not really for the Houthis, it was for their backers, the Iranians. Iran has been quite vocal lately. It fired about 200 missiles at Israel on the 1st of October, and after that, it has kept threatening the Israelis, warning them to not launch a retaliatory attack.
I am warning Israel and Israeli officials that the true promise, too, was only a warning. It was the smallest scale of action that we could carry out with the smallest portion of our power. Learn your lesson. We say it now, and you are aware that when we say it, we take action. Be careful not to make a mistake again. If you do, and target us in any way, whether in the region or in Iran, we will strike you in a painful manner again.
That was the latest threat issued by the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hossein Salami. Every Iranian official has been repeating the same line. They keep warning Israel to not attack. But Israel is planning an attack anyway. The US has been trying to get Israel to tone down its response. Israel has agreed to only target military sites of Iran, instead of going after Iran's nuclear or oil facilities. This is probably the best deal that Joe Biden is going to get from Netanyahu. So the next step is stopping a retaliation from Iran. If Iran responds to an Israeli attack, there's no telling what will happen. So the US will want Iran to stay down. That is probably why they unleashed the B-2s. It is the ultimate intimidation tactic.